Hi everyone, this is it then, the finale of the TRT Breakout League, sponsored by Rogue Energy, and this fifth race in Brazil is upon us. We started 4 weeks ago in Silverstone. Since then we've seen tight and exhilarating races in Japan, Bahrain and Belgium, and we end 435 kilometers west of Rio de Janeiro at Sao Paulo and the 4.3 kilometer circuit José Carlos Pache for the season-ending Brazilian Grand Prix. 3 of our 5 teams have stood on the top step. IFR, XL and Vapor have all come out worthy winners from our first 4 races. TRT continue to languish down at the bottom of the order in their home event, but it's all to play for at the top. IFR's 2 wins have helped them into a narrow 2-point advantage over XL this evening, and with another 92 points up for grabs in the final race here. This is going to be one hell of a finale here in Brazil. Still waiting, of course, to see if TRT or VER can pick up a victory. The only 2 teams who, thus far, in the TRT Breakout League have yet to stand on the top step. Hopefully for them, it's going to be a good evening of racing. Hopefully everybody can end on a high, but of course it's only the top 13 that can score points, and the other 6 in this instance will have to settle for nothing, basically. But hopefully, between now and the end, we can see some exciting racing, which Brazil, of course, is pretty famous for throwing out there. There is, of course, no rain, which is normally what makes Brazil as exciting as it is, but I don't think that should really deter anybody from the race. TRT then still have a driver missing for this evening. He's apparently making his way back home. So, there you go. Awful that, isn't it? No excuse for that sort of behaviour. But, so the TRT a driver down, only 4 for them. As if it couldn't get any worse, really, for TRT so far in this event. Just the 3 points finishes so far over the course of the opening 4 weeks of the season. It's really not been a positive time, has to be said, for the boys in green. But well, hopefully their last member joins before the end of qualifying, and hopefully they can get some more points on the board, maybe even a podium. They are the only team so far not to score a podium. VER have 1 to their name, and well, it's IFR with 2 wins. Vapor would have had 2 themselves, but Kasu denied the victory after he won the race, I should say, through a penalty, but that penalty for IFR was eventually rescinded, so that gave IFR their 2nd victory. Vapor still have 1 themselves. 7 points finishes, 11 points finishes for XL, make them the most points scoring team, I guess, in the Breakout League. But crucially, they do not have the Championship lead. It is a 2-point advantage, but of course over 90 points to gain over the course of an evening of racing. So certainly, as I say, all to play for here, and that 2-point advantage is basically neck and neck. There's basically nothing in it, and we'll see how penalties play a part. It's such a short track as well, so expect some close racing. Expect qualifying to be quite difficult as well, particularly with the fact that all of these drivers are just they're so equal in terms of overall pace, as they have been over the course of the first 4 weeks. Niklas goes P1, then 1 minute 6.7. We're watching Bando Biz for TRT. So he takes the shortest run possible up to the line for the TRT team, and it is P3, 1 minute 6.9. Aqua's gone into P4, and Stinson has taken P1, 1 minute 6.4 from him. Aski come for Vapor is a second with a 1 minute 6.5. Ismail and Aqua now 5th and 6th as XL Neo takes P3, displaces Bando Biz. Niklas has also done so, and 1 minute 6.6 for him. So already you can see those lap times very, very close out the front. So 1 minute 7.3 from Aqua, so potentially a mistake somewhere on his lap as XL Tinkan goes into P10. And IFR Bolin has gone P1 for the IFR team. So 1 minute 6.3, currently a 1-2 for IFR. And then P5 as well for Mikras, so a pretty good start to qualifying for the IFR guys, as here comes Raukio into the final corner. Interestingly, taking on the medium tyres as Fruitful goes into second place. So 1, 2, 3 now for IFR. What can Ralkio do here, though, on his set of yellow-walled medium tyres? It's actually quite a long run up to the line for him. And it's P16, 1 minute 20.5. So that was clearly just a lap that he backed out of. And as a result, he'll... Well, in fact, no, he won't come out to set another one because he's just invalidated this one. So if that was his plan, it's not going to work, unfortunately. Hi, Dan. Vapor Trench in the comments. Let me know, of course, in the comments who you think is going to win. There's going to be no bias at all in any of the comments in the comment section, right? No one's gonna be partial whatsoever. Here's Vapor Matt for the Vapor team. Recently left the Formula PlayStation League, so it's good to be commentating on him again on Thursday nights as he comes up towards the line to start a flying lap. So in towards turn 1 he comes. Bit of a blind exit, quite a late one, and it's a fairly good run through the first 2 corners as he goes through this really long, almost never-ending turn 3, opens up the DRS on the exit, and now brings that blue car down towards the double left-hander of turns 4 and 5, dipping down the hill and then back up it again on the exit of turn 5. It's a good first sector as well from Vapor Map, being shown as purple. Up towards turn 6 he comes. And now in towards another difficult braking zone, difficult apex, fairly cambered as well as he starts to head down the hill. And up he goes in towards these final few corners. Such a difficult exit, this one. It's quite a traction zone, as he's just proven there. Manages to keep hold of the back end. And in towards Jun Xiao now, the final corner of the circuit. Everybody kind of taking to the grass a little bit, almost like a 2010 time trial line, if you can remember that far back. That's a throwback, isn't it? F1 2010. Here comes Vapor Matt, then opens up the DRS, and up towards the line he comes. We've had 16 drivers set laps so far. Vapor Matt into P16 with a 1 minute 7.3, just behind VR Aqua, and then goes off the track to let TRT James through. Oh no, he goes off the track and half spins the car. He did this in Spa, you might remember last week, on a couple of flying laps. He got caught up on the inside at Puan and half spun the car into the grass, and he's done the same here through the Center S in Brazil, but manages to just about keep a hold of it. And well, although the lap is invalidated, at least he still has his car in the session. Crashed out of the race as well, by the way, in Spa last time out, last Thursday night. So yeah, it's not been the best time for TRT James or for the TRT team, as JT just prepares for his flying lap as well as he rounds the final corner. And that's Vapor Matt just behind him, who's on an in-lap, just making his way into the pits. And JT then taking well, quite a wide line so that he can gain as much speed as he possibly can up towards the line to start his lap. And how's the entry into turn 1? It's very, very good indeed from JT. Smooth as you like through these first 3 corners. And now down towards turn 4 he comes. So just under 11 minutes left of qualifying. IFR still with this 1-2-3. Bo then in P1. Fruitful in second place with Stinson in P3. ASCII Cum is then the highest placed Vapor car with XL Neo in P5. The highest placed VER car at the moment is only down in P9. That's Niklas with a 1 minute 6.7. And two VER drivers, I should say. Niklas and Iwan separated by XL Lando. JT invalidates his lap time in the meantime, so he will have to either pit or just go around again to try and set another lap. Bando Biz goes up to P11 for TRT. Displaced is VR Iwan, and still the highest placed TRT car. Then, of course, only 3 of them. TRT Ralkio is still out there as well. He is now on a set of the soft compound tyres, so he's decided to ditch the mediums. Vapor Matt's talking about the amount of drivers TRT have in the Discord chat. And yet, they've only got 3 here. As Ralkio, yeah, I think just wiggled the back end a little bit a couple of corners ago. So has he backed out of this one, or looks as though he is carrying on actually? So it looks as though it is still a pretty good flying lap from Ralkio as he makes his way around these final couple of flat out corners and then up towards the line. In fact, now he has backed out of it. I think, yeah, he has. going to be a 1 minute 7. Actually, it's a 1 minute 7.4. So, yeah, it's still P17, but it's still right there with BreakOut, for example, who's on the 1 minute 7.3. Aqua's improved, but not position-wise. It is still a 1 minute 6.9 to the P15 for him. JT and TRT James are both now back in the pits as XL Neo takes P3. So he's got into third place ahead of IFR Stinson, who now brings that blue and orange car into the pit, so it's no longer all the podium places currently locked out by IFR as Neo takes that position. Niklas has just had his lap invalidated, but he has gone P6, so 1 minute 6.6 for him. Lots of sixes there. So that is now a VER car up in P6. Askicum has been now forced down to P5 as a result of Neo's lap time, sending him up into the top 3 with just over 8 minutes to go here in qualifying. As Niklas then goes up into 4th place for IFR. So still got then all of the IFR cars within the top 5. Just XL Neo in there, separating some of them at the moment. But this is looking good then for IFR. They have this 2-point lead in the championship. Of course, if it were to finish this way in the Grand Prix, IFR would take the championship. They would claim the victory in the event. That's a brilliant looking order for them at the moment. Take a screenshot because, well, that's looking like almost perfection for them. All they need to do is try and displace XL Neo, and they've got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But somehow I don't see that happening because this has been such a tight order throughout the entirety of the first 4 races so far. It's looking very close here as well, as you can see by the timing screens. 1.2 seconds between P1 and P17 from TRT Rapia, which is currently the slowest lap time of the session so far. I always seem to cut to TRT James at the wrong moments. He's just had this lap invalidated as well, so once again he'll have to try and come round. He's also hit a bit of traffic as well, in fairness, so regardless of whether he was still on the flying lap, it looks as though he's just been caught up in a bit of a trade, as he just lets one of the Vapor cars through, which I believe is Askicum. No, it's not. Askicum's just come out of turn 3, so not sure that was. Might have been Vapor Matt, actually, as he looks to make his way round to set a better lap. Remember, top 13 in the Grand Prix, get the points, and Askicum has his lap invalidated as he makes his way through turns 4 and 5. And Vapor Matt then in that blue car, that blue and black car. Currently P16, so at the moment, obviously JT still hasn't set a lap. He's back on the track now, hoping to set a lap time. Vapor Matt down in P16. Canute is up into P9 in the Vapor car. I haven't really mentioned Canute yet so far this evening, but the current championship leader in the Formula PlayStation League. He's a 2-time Formula PlayStation League champion, and 2 wins, 6 podiums, and 2 pole positions last season, en route to the title, beating his teammate Vapor Trench by just 1 point. Vapor team, I should say, Vapor Trench by just a single point after a crazy finale in Bahrain. And this season as well, leading the championship, missed the last race, but so far all looking good for him. But only P9 at the moment here in Brazil for the final rounds. XL Neo has been knocked down a further position, by the way. Stinson and Fruitful both now ahead of him, so he's down to P4. Niklas is on an outlap as well, and Stinson then up the hill in towards turn 6. I think it's not a secret really. I think there is some personal pride to be gained between all of the IFR guys. I think all of them would love to beat each other to the top step of the podium, as Fruitful now displaces Stinson to go into 2nd place by the slenderest of margins. Look how close that is. That is ridiculously tight between those two at the top. IFR Bolin then has begun a flying lap as he makes his way through turn 1, over the curb at 2, through turn 3 to the current leader, the current provisional pole sitter, looking to extend his advantage out front. How's the first sector? It is just a little bit quicker, the first sector, than his current personal best, which is of course the best of the session so far as well. Meanwhile, JT has been able to set it up, and he is now P11 for the Vapor team. 1 minute 6.6 for him. Askicum still the highest placed Vapor car up in P7. He's currently in the pits. Just had that lap time validated, of course, a couple of minutes ago, which is why he wasn't able to improve to any better than that. Vapor Canute also sitting in the pits at the moment with Vapor Mats in P17 now as a result of JT's lap time. As round the final corner then comes IFR Bolin as he looks to stay tight to the inside. Stays tight to the left and he'll take the shortest possible run up towards the line. Crosses the pit entrance, and what's this going to be from IFR Bolin? It is 2/10 quicker, 1 minute 6.0 now from the IFR driver. Brilliant lap time from him, and with 3.5 minutes to go, can anybody beat that? What about Mikras here? Is he going to pit? Yeah, he is. He's going to... No, he's not. He is going to continue. So this is a flying lap from Mikras. What's it going to be? It is P4. So it is now a 1, 2, 3, 4 lockout at the moment for the IFR team. This is looking like absolute perfection this evening. I think now you can take a screenshot, to be fair. This is looking pretty perfect for them, isn't it? XL Neo then outside that P5 with VER Iwan in 6th place with Askicum then P7. So this is looking like a brilliant evening for the IFR team. Bolin P1, Fruitful P2, Stinson in 3rd place with Mikras in to take their 3rd win of the season and seal the championship. What a great moment this could be for them. Of course, we're still waiting for a lot of other drivers to improve and set some better lap times, but at the moment, looking a little bit difficult to see how IFR are going to be beaten. There's Ismail on an outlap at the moment. We've also got TRT James, who I believe is just in front of him on an outlap as well. Bando Biz still in the pits, and TRT still waiting for a 4th driver to turn up to try and at least get their 4th points finish of what has been a miserable event for the TRT team so far. Here in Brazil, just under half of the pole sitters have won a Grand Prix here in the past. We've had 24 different race winners in Brazil over the years, from Ayrton Senna to Lewis Hamilton to Sebastian Vettel as well in 2017 for Ferrari. As Ismail then rounds the final corner and starts a flying lap. So in towards turn 1 he comes, currently P13 for the VER driver at the moment. Round turn 2, then in towards 3. And on the exit there's the DRS line. He might get a bit of a tow here as well off one of the drivers just coming out of the pits, and indeed he does. It's a TRT car of Rauki, I believe, who's just given him a nice little slipstream. Of course, not by design, but Ismail will certainly take it as he brings his car now in towards turn 6. And now again, just another pretty difficult braking zone. Locks up slightly on the right front. Shouldn't cost him too much time as he heads down the hill and then back up it again. It's such an undulating circuit is Brazil. Part of the reason why the drainage tends to be pretty good, which is, well, it's a good job really, because it tends to rain a lot in Brazil. Of course, the TRT Breakout League is only in dry conditions, so there is no threat of rain over the course of this evening, which may be a shame, but I was talking to Vapor Matt earlier and he's very happy that there's no chance of rain, as up towards the line comes Ismail to go P9, so puts himself within that top 10 and displaces Vapor Canute, who is now down to P10. Falk, who's an IFR driver, yeah, some pretty happy, I would say that's a pretty happy comment from an IFR driver, that IFR are 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know where I would get that impression that he's happy about that, but there you go. Anders Falk with, yeah, well, I hope he's taken a screenshot, because that's a lovely moment for IFR. Right, the checkered flag is about to fall on the session. There it is. So all the drivers now on their last laps. Askicum has just crossed the line for Vapor, and he stays P8. Here comes Vapor Canute. Stinson's retired from the session meanwhile, so the best he will qualify is P4. XL Neo meanwhile goes into P2, so IFR's 1, 2, 3, 4 is ruined. It's not going to happen for them this evening. So XL Neo into second place, but Bolin's still at the moment in P1. Vapor Canute now is dropped to P11, but he's rounded the final corner, and up towards the line he comes, as we've got a couple of TRT drivers up towards the line as well. Here comes Canute round the final corner. What will this be for him? It's still P11, and it's 3.7 seconds slower. So when we were watching XL, he must have lost a lot of time. Sorry, in fact, no, he has gone into P6 now. So what on earth happened there, I don't know with the timing screens, but he is now up to P6. Thank you, Codemasters. Mikras now displaces him immediately, goes into 6th place himself. So that is Mikras, yeah, into 6th. So the IFR certainly will not have their 1, 2, 3, 4. And Bolin has come into the pits meanwhile, so he'll not be improving, but I don't think it's going to matter at all. In fact, I can tell you it's not, because there's nobody else left to set a lap time in this session, which means IFR have a pole position in Brazil. It is a 1, 3, 4, 6 for IFR, so not quite the 1, 2, 3, 4 we were looking at as the checkered flag was about to fall, but it is the perfect end as far as pole position is concerned. A brilliant qualifying for IFR Bolin, and he's put his team, as have the other 3 drivers, in a pretty dominant position going into the Grand Prix. They need to consolidate the 2-point advantage they have at the top. XL Neo splitting the IFR drivers up there, but nonetheless, this is looking like a very good evening indeed for the IFR team. So it's Bolin in P1 for the start of the Grand Prix. 2.5 tenths clear of XL Neo. Freakful in 3rd place with Stinson in P4. JT up to P5 in the end for Vapor, so a good end to the session for him. Mikras in P6. Vapor Canute 7th place for Vapor. XL Larkin in P8. Iwan 9th place. Tinkan rounds out the top 10 for the XL team. Aski come in the end down in P11. Niklas P12. Ismail P13. That's where the points will finish in the Grand Prix. Aqua in 14th place for VR. XL in P15. Bando Biz 16th. Vapor Matt 17th. TRT Ralkio down in 18th with TRT James down in 19th place. So once again, not looking like a good qualifying session at all there for the TRT team. So James down in last place for the Grand Prix. TRT also not able to get a 4th driver out there. So the driver who was making his way home clearly hasn't made his way home yet, because it's still just the 3 for TRT going into the Brazilian Grand Prix, and 2 of them down the back of the order. And it sounds worse than it really is, because the lap times were still pretty close there in qualifying. It's not as if anybody was entirely 100% way down in terms of lap time, but the IFR guys have just, over the course of this event, have just found a way to gain that extra bit of time. They've been so impressive from Silverstone right up to this evening in Brazil. So get your predictions in then. Who's going to win the Grand Prix, and more importantly, at the end of tonight's racing, who is going to come out of this event as the champion? Is it going to be IFR? Is it going to be XL at the top, with, of course, as I mentioned at the start, just those 2 points separating the teams coming into this evening? As far as qualifying goes, as I say, Bolin's put himself in the perfect position ahead of this race. IFR Golden has predicted that IFR are going to win. I couldn't have called that, you know. I couldn't have suspected that at all. But I think, to be fair, not just from an IFR bias perspective, but generally from the neutral perspective. I mean, if you look at the order from qualifying, IFR dominating qualifying. Of course, anything can happen in the race, particularly in Brazil, as the game predicts a soft, hard strategy for the Grand Prix. Safety cars, of course, could play a factor, and a lot of drivers might just go for the 2-stop regardless of what happens. Safety cars could push some drivers into a 2-stop. We saw IFR go for an early stop, and then they, of course, didn't pit under the late safety car, which cost them the victory on track, but in the end they got the victory as a result of an IFR penalty being taken off, as Bolin then makes his way up towards the grid. And just to see who can get the best start. XL Neo knows that he's surrounded by IFR cars. He doesn't really need to be told that. So he'll recognise fully that he needs to get a good start, and if he's going to give his team any chance of winning this event come the end of the 36 laps here in Brazil, he needs to get a good launch off the line as we prepare them for the 152-kilometre Brazilian Grand Prix. 50% Grand Prix here. No rain to play a factor, but there will surely be drama nonetheless, as there was in Belgium last time. There has been really in every single race so far this season. As we just wait for TRT James to line up on the back of the grid. It's been a pretty horrible event so far for TRT in their own TRT Breakout League event. But here at the front, IFR, they've dominated it so far. They've got 2 wins. Are they about to make it a third with Bolin on pole? Are they about to win the TRT Breakout League Championship? We'll find out. The Brazilian Grand Prix is underway. Bolin with a decent start. XL looks to be losing out to Stinson early on. But Bolin with that fantastic getaway off the line. And it is still P1 for him as he leads the drivers through the first 3 corners. Goes defensive as well. XL Neo, though, is still in P2. So he's managed very well there to fend off the competition. Into turn 4 then goes Bolin, still leading the Grand Prix. Fruitful getting ahead of Stinson off the start as well. So Stinson in P4, Fruitful in P3, but crucially for IFR, they still have 3 drivers within that top 4. XL Neo, though, holding on to that second place. JT then in P5 for Vapor, and meanwhile Vapor Canute has fallen right down the order because he's had a spin, and XL Lando has had a spin as well. So I think they've both got caught up with each other. That's awful news for the XL team, looking to take championship success here in Brazil. But they've already got 1 driver right down the back of the order. 1 in P2, 1 in P7, and 1 in P9. So this couldn't have gone much better at all for IFR, as Bolin still leads and nearly has that 1 second gap as well. Back to XL Neo. Down towards turn 1 they come then to start the second lap of the Brazilian Grand Prix. Fruitful still chasing XL Neo, still very close indeed to him. As Bando Biz and XL Lando both come into the pits. Vapor Canute, I imagine, will join them, and he does indeed. So, in fact, no, he doesn't. Vapor Canute has stayed out, so whether he's got damage or not, I don't know. But either way, he's decided to stay out on the circuit for the time being. As up the hill then comes JT. He and XL Neo in a bit of an IFR sandwich at the moment, as JT looks to make his way up towards the podium positions. As a result of that then, TRT James up to P14, and well, he is the highest placed TRT driver at the moment, but just 1 position now outside the points for him, so we'll see if he can maintain that over the course of the Grand Prix and maybe just snatch a points finish, which would, of course, as I said, only be TRT's 4th points finish collectively over the course of these 5 races. If Santi was here, he would win by 30 seconds. Well, so far, Bolin is not quite a second in front of XL Neo, so it looks as though this is going to be hopefully quite a tight battle, but you can see Bolin just starting to lose him a little bit as he just feigns that defensive line on the run down towards turn 4. Neo just about staying with him as they head in towards this double left-hander. Mikras, meanwhile, still in 6th place as he looks to find a way past JT. And Stinson, well, you just wonder, is he going to try and find a way past his teammate Fruitful? It is, of course, way too early to start thinking about any team orders, and it's not something that IFR need to do because they obviously wouldn't gain anything from it, except for the fact that potentially if Stinson feels as though he's quicker, he might just want to have a go at XL Neo, but it's, of course, too early, and the pack is way too bunched up to start thinking about team orders, as Bolin has now just broken that DRS window back to XL Neo. So, it's been a good start for IFR. Fruitful still in the 16 of XL Neo. This is going to help Fruitful now up the home straight, but I'll tell you what, Stinson's getting very close here to his teammate. Is he close enough for a move? No, he's not. XL Neo's locked up slightly though in front of them, which is going to give Fruitful, you would think, a little bit of an opportunity coming down towards turn 4 as they round turn 3. And this then, the second DRS straight. Can he get close enough for the overtake? I don't think he can. He's not quite going to be there. He's going to have a little look and he'll put himself in XL Neo's wing mirrors just to let him know that he's there. That's XL Neo holding firm on the brakes, not being unnerved just yet by the 2 IFR drivers behind him. JT still in front of Mikras with XL Lando. Oh, Bolin's left the session. Bolin's left the session. Oh no! So IFR here are in trouble because XL Neo takes the lead of the Grand Prix. What's happened to Bolin? He's left the session. Let's hope he can rejoin, because this is not the way we want to see this this championship go down. IFR, as it stands, would still take the victory. But this is awful news for IFR Bolin after such a dominant pole position. This is not what he deserves at all. As up towards turn 1 comes Fruitful, he's side by side with Neo, so just as quickly as Neo took the lead, he loses first place. He might just lose second place as well, because Stinson's right there. Bolin's joined again, but not before he falls down to 9th place. That is a shocking turn of events there for IFR Bolin. They still have a driver in P1. Are they about to have a driver in P2 as well? Because here comes Stinson. Oh, looks for the move down the inside. Look at JT as well. JT is right there for the Vapor team. Can he take advantage of that from Stinson? No, he can't, because there's just not enough of a run up towards turn 6. Bolin now down to P30 as he still tries to find connection, I believe. What an awful turn of events that is then for IFR Bolin. He's now only just in front of TRT James. So yeah, that is awful for Bolin. So Fruitful then still leads this Grand Prix. So IFR still have 2 drivers up there in the podium places. And Neo here with DRS as he tries to get back ahead of Fruitful. He's lost Stinson just a little bit. JT behind him, who is still looking then to find his way up into the podium places. He's already, of course, been gifted P4 by Bolin's disconnection as he slightly loses the back end on the exit of turn 1 going into turn 2, as everyone sort of just goes to take that inside line on the exit of turn 3. Everybody's sort of wary of each other. Also just looking to break that slipstream as well as just go defensive. The issue, of course, at the moment is just this DRS train. It's proving really difficult for drivers to get any overtakes done. And JT still looking to displace at least one of the IFR cars in front. XL Neo now 0.6 of a second behind Fruitful, with Stinson really catching him. So Stinson's really catching up in this middle sector. Might be a suggestion that XL Neo's running quite a bit more of a straight line speed based setup. See here as they come up towards the start finish straight, who's going to be closer to who. Stinson still chasing down Neo. Neo still chasing down Fruitful. Mikras has got a reasonable run on JT, but because of course JT's got DRS in front of him, it doesn't really allow him to catch up in any way. Bolin now is P12, so he's got ahead of Ismail. So he's still in those points paying positions as Bolin, but his chances of winning this race have been severely hindered by that disconnection, which is so undeserved, because he really dominated qualifying. As I said, took a brilliant pole position, led the Grand Prix for the opening few laps of the race, only for a disconnection to send him down to P13, but he's now to P11 because he's just gotten past VER Aqua, as you've seen there. So it's another VER car of Niklas up next for him. He'll make it a hat-trick of VER cars passed since he was sent back down towards the tail end of the points positions. That's your first bit of drama there here in Brazil, which hasn't always had a Grand Prix held here in Sao Paulo. 11 Brazilian Grand Prix were held at the Jacarapagua circuit, which is 420 kilometers away from here. The first of these 2 races were both won by Carlos Reutemann in 78 and 81. Alain Prost won 5 races there as well, as JT into turn 1. Still at the moment not finding a way past IFR Stinson. Mikras as well having no further luck in getting past JT. Meanwhile, Bando Beers is at the back. Orlando in P18. And TRT James is still the highest placed TRT driver, but still down in P14 outside of the points. So at the minute not looking particularly good for TRT in terms of scoring any more points. James himself, who of course, as I mentioned, crashed out of the Belgian Grand Prix last time out. He's had 6 races and 6 non-finishes as well in the FPSL in Season 7 so far in Division 1. He got 1 points finished last season, but that was a victory in Singapore. But didn't score any points in the remaining 6 races in which he partook last season. So unfortunately for him, really not going well in that league, and for TRT, not going well here either. No drivers in the points, with Vapor Matt for the Vapor team in P15 and Canute down in P17 after his early incident on the opening lap of the Grand Prix. Matt, of course, as you can see there, has a penalty as well to his name, just to add to those troubles. Stinson then, 0.3 of a second behind Neo. It's all very close, but there's just not that many overtaking opportunities. Slightly wide goes Neo, and you rather feel as though strategy and, of course, the potential mistakes here and there are what's going to separate a few of these drivers. Fruitful is trying to break the DRS back to Neo, but Neo is still there, still hanging on just over half a second, separating these guys. You do wonder how long it's going to be before somebody tries a late banzai move just to try and make something happen, because it's going to start to get very frustrating just being stuck behind the same driver lap after lap. Stinson runs ever so slightly wide to the final corner, but he'll have DRS and it should save him from being attacked very strongly by JT, as you can see there, got quite a substantial gap back to JT, so no real danger of him being passed in towards the braking zone of turn 1. Fruitful then still leads this Grand Prix with Neo in P2. Bolin still in P11, 1.5 seconds now behind VER. Niklas was leading the Grand Prix very comfortably before that disconnection put him down into 30th place. But made up 2 positions since then on 2 VER drivers, now chasing another one. What's costing him a little bit is that Niklas has DRS every lap, so that's just resulting in Bolin taking just that little bit longer to try and catch up to him. But despite that, he is catching just a little bit, fractionally, lap by lap. Niklas himself 0.3 of a second behind Asticum. Both of those drivers on the medium tyres, as Vapor Canute has just gotten past TRT Ralkio, and now he's right behind his teammate Vapor Matt. That gets very close indeed. Matt, of course, on the medium tyres with a penalty as well, so he could probably do with letting his teammate go here, you'd have to be honest, so that Canute can chase after TRT James and then potentially make his way up into the points, with Ismail currently occupying that final points position in 13th. Matt taking that very wide line into the final corner, and Canute then follows him up the hill, up towards the DRS straight, and I think, yeah, we can pretty much tell what's going to happen here, can't we? Vapor Matt will move over, just let his teammate go up the home straight. There he goes, Vapor Canute, and that is going to be P15. But now have a look at the TRT driver of Ralkio as he tries to go down the inside of Vapor Matt, but doesn't quite have the run just yet and has to stay behind him. So Vapor just about managed to make that one work without Matt losing a position, but for how much longer is he going to keep Ralkio at bay? Because here comes that green car. Canute runs slightly wide at turn 4. Won't cost him an awful lot of time. He is on those soft tyres, which will just help him to make up any grip. And there we go, JT still then in P4, still chasing those podium places. And still, the gap's pretty even up and down the field. Once you get to P12, Aqua is 3.5 seconds back from IFR Bolin, who has now got into DRS range of Niklas. So Bolin trying to make his way back up the order in what has turned out to be a very frustrating evening indeed for him. 12 wins from second place here. Neo started second, is still second, and he's still looking to take P1. 9 wins as well from outside the front row. Down towards turn 4 then, Bolin. He's going to hit this same problem that the other drivers have hit so far in terms of being in a DRS train, as Iwan gets past Larkin. So there's a move for 6th place in this Grand Prix. So VER Iwan now slides that car into the top 6 and is ahead of XL Larkin. So that's more bad news for the XL team, looking to beat IFR in this race, but having no joy in doing so at the moment. IFR still brilliantly leading this Grand Prix out front, and that's another position lost then for Larkin, and more points gone as well for the time being for them. So Iwan into 6th place. He's now the highest, well, he was already the highest place VER car, but now 6th place at the moment for the VER team. Bolin then, pretty good exit out of the final corner as he looks to chase Niklas up the hill. And has he isolated the VER car? Well, Niklas has half a second up to Asticum, but here Boland's got a very good run and he's got a very good slipstream. And has he got enough to go down the inside? No, he doesn't. As Stinson gets a penalty, that could be pretty big. So because of how small these gaps are, 3 seconds is going to make a lot of difference to his lap time. It'll put him behind JT, Mikras, Aniwan, potentially Larkin and Tinkan as well, depending on how the gaps fluctuate as this race goes on. So it really could cost him a handful of positions, that penalty, for Stinson come the end of this Grand Prix. So picking up a penalty here in this sort of race where everybody's so tight together is going to be very costly. VR Ismail has a penalty as well, which is going to mean that TRT James pitted, by the way, which is going to mean that Vapor, provided they don't get any more penalties, could end up in the points. But yeah, it's not looking good for TRT in terms of scoring any points this evening, unfortunately. Bowden then still chasing down Niklas, still hoping for another overtake here. It's going to be difficult, but if he wants to make his way back up the order, he's going to have to maybe try and make something work. Fruitful into the pits then for the IFR team. So the first one to blink in amongst those top drivers. Bowden as well has come into the pits. So he's had enough of being stuck behind Niklas. He's going to try and get the undercut. How effective is the undercut here in this race? I guess we're about to find out. He's on to the hard tyres, is Bowden, as is Larkin, who's just coming into the pits, and Fruitful as well, going onto the hard tyres. So I imagine then that they will try and take those tyres 23 laps between now and the end of the Brazilian Grand Prix, which well, is certainly doable because they've just done 14 laps on the soft tyres. So by that logic, you would certainly think that they could make something work in terms of going to the end there. So Stinson out to second place and already very close to XL Neo. So the question now is, as Neo goes a little bit wide at the final corner, do these guys respond straight away? Do they stay out a bit longer and go for some sort of other strategical advantage? Neo stays out and Stinson stays out as well, and he's also going to go into the lead of the Grand Prix. So JT comes into the pit, Stinson goes into P1, and IFR once again have the lead of the Brazilian Grand Prix. So that's twice that the XL Neo's taken the lead and straight away had it taken off him. So it's Stinson now with the advantage in this Grand Prix. And Tinkan as well has come into the pits along with VER Iwan, and of course JT just making his way into the pit exit now for the Vapor team. So that's going to put him, it's going to be just behind Raukio there, or is he? It's going to be close, but yeah, he will be just behind Raukio, who himself is still chasing down Vapor Matt for what is currently P10, but of course Matt, Raukio, who else? Basically everybody else yet to pit. Bando Biz as well is he's on 12-lap old soft tyres, but he's still down in last place. And just as I say that, he also gets a time penalty to add to that misery. So really not going well for TRT. I've said that a lot actually, but it really isn't. There's the exit then from Vapor Matt. From JT, I should say. Not bad at all as he cuts back underneath Raukio, but unable to get a move done just yet. Is he going to try anything into this final corner of Junshao? No, he's not. He's going to hit him though, because I think he's just misjudged just how little grip Raukio was going to have, and he's had to brake quite early. Mikras and Neo both into the pits meanwhile. Here comes JT though, side by side with Raukio, and straight away after that, Iwan is going to try and get past him as well. Here comes Iwan trying to go to the outside. Oh, he spins round. Iwan getting it wrong under braking. He's reset to track, and that's put him right the way off the circuit. Raukio in P12 as a result of all of that. Raukio has been passed by Mikras and Vapor Matt as well. So Matt and Mikras both getting ahead of TRT Raukio in amongst that incident, which saw the VER driver of Iwan going right the way off the circuit. Lando's now got a penalty. Stinson still leads this Grand Prix because he hasn't pitted yet. Aski comes into second place for the same reason. But Stinson, of course, with this penalty that he picked up a little bit earlier on. Aqua and Ismail both with penalties as well. Fruitful's made his way up into sixth place, and into the pits now does come Stinson. Just about gets to slow down for the penalty. You almost wonder in a way what the point was of staying out an extra couple of laps when Fruitful was making his way back up the order. As I said earlier, in qualifying there is a bit of personal pride up for grabs, and it is the medium tyres on the car. Can you make mediums go that long? Will mediums last that long? If he does make them last that amount of time, as JT sits the fastest lap, then that really could be a game changer in terms of this Grand Prix. Because if he can make those mediums last, and if they still have a good amount of pace towards the end, he could find himself winning this Grand Prix. Still then, with the top four, Askicum, Niklas, Aqua and Ismail yet to pit as JT chases down his teammate Vapor Canute, who is right behind XL Neo. Vapor Matt has just been passed by Larkin, so Matt now on these older tyres is being passed left, right and centre. He's still got Ralkio right behind him, and Tinkan, who's just pitted, having a little look at the TRT driver, but so far not quite able to get ahead of him. It's surely a matter of time though as he takes that sweeping line. And it's a great run as well, that. As oh, Matt Vapor Canute slowing down. What's happened to him? What's happened here? Oh, he's got a puncture. He's got a right rear puncture. Oh no! So Canute, I think, has he's either been in contact, or the tyres, which are 16 laps old in fairness, have just given up the ghost. So I imagine the tyres have just worn themselves down so much that he's now got that puncture. As Ralkio does get passed by Tinkan. Oh no, he doesn't, because Tinkan's in the wall. Oh, it just keeps on going wrong for XL. Tinkan, who was trying to make that move stick on Vapor Matt, has ended up in the wall on the pit straight. A virtual safety car is deployed as a result. And if anything else wants to go wrong for XL, well, I guess it's about to, as Vapor Canute comes into the pits. It just can't keep getting worse, can it? For XL here, as they try somehow to win this championship, but it's just not going in their favour in any way, shape or form. The same can be said for TRT, because Bando Biz is now out of the session, so he has had, I think he's just had enough, to be honest, of this race. I think he's just decided, screw this, I'd rather be having a takeaway or something than racing right now, so or whatever he's going to do, I don't really know. He's out of here, and so that's now just 18 runners left in this Grand Prix. Askicum then, up towards the line, hasn't taken the chance to pit. Niklas is going to go down the inside. Oh, Askicum really gives him the squeeze into the first corner, and he just about stays in front. That was really, really ruthless defending from Askicum. It's worked so far, but now Niklas will again have DRS on the run down towards turn 4. Askicum still on the inside, still trying to defend it with all he possibly can, but it's a fantastic move round the outside from Niklas to take the lead, but Askicum is still there. He still won't give up on it. He's still down the inside. Niklas has to give him room, but now comes across and gives Askicum exactly the same treatment as he received from the Vapor driver a little bit earlier on. Cuts him off at the pass and consolidates the position. That's a really good overtake for Niklas round the outside a couple of times, and Askicum, for all his might, unable to defend the position. That was really exciting stuff between those two, and they did so well not to crash as well. Tinkan then has come into the pits to replace the front wing that got damaged in that incident, where he crashed into the pit wall. I wonder if there'll be some fingers pointed at Vapor Matt potentially incident. Exactly what happened. We just saw Tinkan spinning off into the wall, and unfortunately for him, it's another few positions and another few points lost for XL. Ralkio, as a result of all this, is into the points now, and we've got a host of cars in. So Niklas, Askicum, Larkin stayed out, so Larkin's going to get past these guys. Aqua and Ismail have both come into the pits as well for the VER team. So Larkin, who's on those hard tyres, out he comes, and it's softs for Niklas. What's that about? Askicum and Vapor Matt are now side by side, but Askicum gets ahead of him on his fresh soft tyres. So it's softs for Niklas, Askicum, Aqua and Ismail, and for Tinkan as well, who just pitted on the last lap. I don't know what you guys think in the chat. I don't know about that. You can't. Oh, can you? Can you make the softs last to the end from here? That is an interesting one. I mean, you could sort of understand it in the sense that a lot of these guys don't really have an awful lot to lose. But yeah, that seems strange to me, because even if they can make those softs last, you would surely think that by the end of this Grand Prix, they're still going to be extremely worn. That's a weird one. Stinson then is in P1 as a result, so the overcut was preferential then to the overcut. Fruitful then still behind him, but it is now a 1-2. So XL Neo is the bigger loser in that one because he's no longer in second place. He is now down to third. And IFR, well, IFR so far have taken full advantage of XL's struggles in this Grand Prix as Iwan makes his way past Vapor Matt and gets himself into 9th place. Larkin as well has been passed by Nicholas, and Askicum is 1.5 seconds just under behind him. So Vapor Matt now down to P10. We're still waiting for him to pit, but when he does pit, of course, he'll be on some very fresh tyres towards the end of the Grand Prix. So we'll see what he can do with that. Ralkio still rounding out the points at the moment. So it's 2 Vapor cars in the points. Vapor Canute just outside the points. I should say 3. 3 Vapor cars in the points because JT's up in P4. Meanwhile, XL Neo, it's very close indeed to Fruitful as he tries to take that second place back. Remember, Fruitful is on the hard. Stinson and Neo both on the mediums. And Neo here looks to have a fair bit of pace on him. He wants to get past Fruitful as quick as he possibly can so as to have a chance at winning this Grand Prix and at least taking some pride back here for XL in what has been a torrid evening so far for them. Into the pits then comes Vapor Matt, and it is soft tyres on the car. So I would think then that the other guys who have gone onto the softs are definitely going to the end as well. I think that was always the plan as XL Larkin gets a penalty. So that is now how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 drivers with penalties. Vapor Matt's going to rejoin behind his teammate Vapor Canute, but he will still just about be in front of Bolin. It will be pretty tight. In fact, no, he lets... In fact, no, that is Vapor Canute. I'm just being dumb. So, yeah, no, that is Canute. He's just got ahead of him. So, yeah, he lets his teammate Canute go. And that's P13 then for Canute with IFR Bolin now in P15. So, yeah, Bolin's lost out a lot, hasn't he? I think, did he maybe leave it too late to pit? Some of the drivers behind might have got the undercut. So, that's him nearly 3 seconds behind Vapor Matt now. Yeah, that's not good news for him at all. Askicum now getting past Larkin down the inside of the turn 1, gets past him, and Ismail as well sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix as Mikras getting passed as well by Nikras, but Mikras having a look back into turn 4, gets very close to hitting the VER driver. So that is now an IFR car down to 6th place. So Niklas then getting his car up into P5. And it just gets a little bit more difficult for IFR. They're still on course very much to win the championship here this evening. Still with 3 drivers in that top 6. XL with just the 1 with XL Neo. And of course Bolin still trying to make his way back up the order into the points paying positions. He's got Vapor Matt and Vapor Canute in front of him. Iwan's just lost a couple of places. Meanwhile, he's let his teammates Aqua and Ismail go. So he's just allowed those two to get past him. Right, Bolin. Thanks for that, Anders. Bolin got front wing damage because of Tinkan. So that's why he's now down in P15. So that's why he lost out. Something I didn't see. As into the pits then comes Iwan. So that would explain that one then for Bolin. But hopefully for him he's still got the pace, and he does because he's closing on Matt. So I would hope then for his sake that he's able to climb back up into the points. He deserves it. That disconnection early on was cruel because, as I say, it was such a good pole. He was leading the race very comfortably indeed. And he didn't deserve that. That was harsh on him. So up to P14 now because of Iwan's pit stop though. So that just puts him a little bit closer to the points and still just over 2 seconds behind Vapor Matt. Yeah, thanks for that, Anders. Let me. That's the reason that IFR Bolin is now down in P14 and not still making his way back up the order like he was before. But hopefully for him, as I say, he can make some overtakes happen. Right, here comes Neo. Still half a second behind Fruitful, so it's still the same story that we had at the start of the Grand Prix with this DRS train preventing us from having any real action out the front or anywhere. To be honest, it's I don't know. Safe to say this hasn't been the most exciting Brazilian Grand Prix we've ever seen. You'd probably have to admit that. But IFR, in fairness, won't be complaining about that. I think the more boring it is, the better, as far as they're concerned, because they're just looking to bring these cars home now to win the event, to win the championship in as undramatic style as they possibly can. Right, Ralki has just been passed by Vapor Canute. So Canute then up into 11th place. So getting deeper now into the points positions is Canute, the German driver who already has a victory to his name so far in this event. That was in round number 2 in Japan. But 10 positions off that so far as Niklas gets a penalty. So that will help Mikras behind him in the IFR car, still within a second. So as long as Mikras doesn't get the penalty and as long as he stays within 3 seconds of that VER driver in front, he should be able to reclaim P5 and just make that winning margin in the championship a little bit more comfortable for IFR. What this has meant tonight is that I haven't had to get my calculator out and start calculating who's going to win this race and who's going to get enough points and whatnot. It looks pretty comfortable at the minute. IFR are going to win. As I say, it's undramatic, but they won't care about that. In fact, they'll be very happy that they've had little drama. Of course, Bolin had that drama early on, and he's had it again with the contact that he had with Tin Can, who is now down in 18th place himself after that collision that he had whilst trying to pass Vapor Matt. But overall, yeah, it's been a good race for IFR, who still here have this 1-2 out front, with XL Neo still trying to pass these two drivers, but Stinson and Fruitful both remaining very solid out front as Bolin does continue his recovery up the order, and he gets ahead of TRT Ralkio and into P12 then for Bolin. So another move done from him, and he himself just gets a little bit further up into the points and now is just over a second behind Vapor Canute, but it is then 17.5 seconds up to Ismail. What's going to work in Bolin's favour, of course, is that he doesn't have a penalty. Vapor Canute, Ismail, Aqua and Larkin all do, but it's going to be very difficult even when he gets past, if and when he gets past Vapor Canute. It's still going to be very tough to make up the time that he needs to catch up to Ismail. So you'd probably imagine that P11 is the best that Bolin can get from here, which, as I say, would be very unfair on him after such a great performance over the course of the evening so far. Lap 27 then of 36 of the Brazilian Grand Prix. Stinson leads, Fruitful P2, IFR 1-2 at the moment. XL Neo rounding out the podium places with JT a further 3.5 seconds back. Niklas then in P5, but with a penalty, so Mikras will be promoted to P6. Of course, Stinson as well out front has a penalty also, so he needs to probably get a wiggle on here and try and make his way further in front of Fruitful. I think potentially what Fruitful could do, and this isn't an idea that I'm putting into anyone's head, he potentially could try and back up Neo to give Stinson advantage so that Fruitful and Stinson can maintain this 1-2. As it stands, Stinson will finish P3 with Fruitful in first and XL Neo finishing in second place. Which, you know, it's not, I wouldn't call it cynical, but that is definitely something they could try, as Bolin just puts himself in Vapor Canute's wing mirror. Again, just lets him know that he's there, lets him know that he's ready to pounce on any mistakes that Vapor Canute might make in these final few laps here in Brazil. P12 then for Bolin, P11 for Vapor Canute. Ismail is still pretty close to his teammate VER Aqua, who has 5 seconds to make up to Larkin in 8th place. He himself is a further 3 seconds behind Askicum, who is also a bit on his own, 2 seconds back from Mikras, who is still doing everything he needs to stay ahead of Niklas when he gets his penalty. And that's TRT Ralkio, who's just lost a couple of places because XL Lando and Vapor Matt have both gotten ahead of him. So really good racing going on down here then. So Matt and Lando both getting past Ralkio there. Of course, Matt and Lando both have penalties, so Ralkio, if he stays within distance, will still get these 2 positions. But that's Matt now into the points positions. So we now, at the moment, have all 4 Vapor cars in the points and no TRT cars up in the points. Here comes Bolin, then he has got past Vapor Canute. So into P11 goes the IFR driver, and he is now past Vapor Canute and inching closer to that top 10, but as I say, still a lot of time to make up. And Lando and Matt now going side by side. Matt has just about fended off the XL driver for the time being, but surely he can't do so anymore. Oh, that gets very close down towards turn 4. I think Lando maybe turned across a little bit early, but they just about managed to avoid contact, and that's Lando then into P13 and Vapor Matt knocked back out of the points positions. Ralkio and James still outside the points. Bando is out of the Grand Prix, and TRT came into this Grand Prix without a fourth driver, just to compound the misery that they've suffered so far in the TRT Breakout League, which is I'm going to bring that point up in a second because XL Neo is very close here to Fruitful, but not close enough. Sponsored the TRT Breakout League by Rogue Energy, the world's most delicious gaming drinks, and available in there's Neo. How close to getting there? No, still not close enough. What am I saying? Yeah. This is a great plug from myself here. It's brought to you by Rogue Energy, the TRT Breakout League, the world's most delicious gaming drinks, available in a vast variety of flavours, from pink lemonade to dragon fruit, mango, green apple, and many more. Just visit rogueenergydrinks.com to get yours today, and if you use the special code TRT21, you will get your TRT Esports discount. I eventually got to the end of that plug. It was seamless. Neo then, still 4/10 behind Fruitful, so just inching a little bit closer than he was a couple of laps ago, but as you can see, still not close enough. Niklas, meanwhile, right behind JT, not for much longer because he's got ahead of him. So P4 for Niklas. JT now sent down into 5th place. It might matter little because Niklas still has that penalty. Vapor Canute with DRS to try and come back at him, but he's not going to be close enough. So that's Niklas now into 4th place for the VER team. JT, who was once chasing a podium in this race, now pushed down into 5th with Mikras for IFR, now right behind him. So Mikras, if he can get ahead of JT here, could be on now for P4 at the end of this Grand Prix, which would be very useful indeed for IFR. They don't necessarily need it, but it would be good for them if they can get 3 cars up in that top 4. Bolin now is just under 17 seconds behind Ismail. So yeah, that gap is not going to be coming down by enough, really, is it, for him to take the advantage. XL Neo's now just fallen out of DRS range of Stinson Fruitful. So as Fruitful has a look at the turn 1. Depending on how this goes then, depending on how much time Neo loses or otherwise, Stinson potentially could still finish this race in 2nd place. 1.2 now between Fruitful and Neo, as here comes Fruitful, so surely he's got the run now down towards turn 4, and he does, and Fruitful here takes the lead of the Brazilian Grand Prix ahead of his teammate, and well, it was illegitimately Stinson in P1 because of his penalty, but it's now Fruitful legitimately in P1 without a penalty, and Stinson now forced down to 2nd place. So XL Neo, is he going to have any more luck passing Stinson than he did Fruitful? We're about to find out, as Matt's just been passed meanwhile by VER Iwan for P40. Vapor Canute as well has picked up a penalty, another penalty. Vapor Matt also a little bit earlier on picked up another penalty himself. So it's a day that's just going a little bit worse at the moment for Vapor, with Vapor Canute falling down towards the back of the points order, now P12. Askey coming P7, JT now in 5th place. Half a second between him and Niklas, and also half a second between himself and Mikras behind in P6, as Mikras still looks to break into that top 5. Still got the 2 remaining TRT drivers down in 16th and 17th, so it looks very much here as though they're going to have to settle for just 3 points finishes in this TRT Breakout League event. Not been a great time of it for them, as up towards turn 6 comes Mikras, still chasing down JT. Getting very close under braking, almost having to take evasive action into turn 8. So they swoop through 9 and up the hill in towards 10 and then into the braking zone of 11. As XL Lando gets a penalty, he's P13, so as it stands, that will put him behind Iwan and out of the points, just to make life even more difficult for XL as far as this championship goes. This battle here is reminiscent, really, isn't it, of what's going on out front, because the gaps have been relatively the same. It's a bit of a DRS train. Having said that, Stinson now a little bit isolated here by XL Neo, because he's fallen out of DRS range of his teammate, and he's now within the clutches of XL Neo. So Neo's going to take P2 because of Stinson's penalty anyway, but can he take that second place on track? He would much prefer that for a bit of pride, and at least take something back for the XL team. But it looks very much here on lap 34 or 36 that Fruitful is going to go on to take the victory and help to secure IFR's success in the TRT Breakout League. IFR bowling now up to just under 15 seconds, 14 and a half now, up to Ismail. So he's just proving the point. This is what I could have done without a disconnection, and then the contact with Tinkan as well. Tinkan now down in P17. He's gaining position because Vapor Matt has come into the pits for the Vapor team, so that eliminates pretty much his chances of scoring any points, because he has a couple of penalties to his name as well to be added on at the end of the Grand Prix. As here comes Neo, still with DRS on Stinson, who doesn't have DRS on Fruitful anymore, but he's picking up just a little bit of a distant slipstream from his teammate out front is Stinson. So he's under a bit of pressure, but Neo doesn't have long left, of course, to try and take this second place away from Stinson on track. He might just struggle to get this position made up. Niklas then still just in front of Bait. And Aski come now in the other Vapor car, or the second Vapor car, is just making his way up towards the back of this train. Again, so late on in the Grand Prix, it might be too little too late for Aski come in terms of making up any more positions, but Niklas here under a lot of pressure from JT, who as it stands will take back P4. Iwan and Lando meanwhile have been going side by side, and Iwan getting ahead of Lando, so that's P13 then for Iwan, and XL Lando now pushed out of the points. He was going to be out of the points anyway because of his penalty, but he's now pushed out of the points on track, and it's now P30 for Iwan and down to P14 for XL Lando. Back up then into this battle for fourth, and JT's under quite a bit of pressure here as well from Mikras. Here comes the IFR driver as we look back at Askicum, who's catching up to this battle, and this battle here which could be about to change as JT gets very close to Niklas, and who's going to pass who? No one's going to pass anyone just yet, as Mikras very nearly gives JT a touch through turn one, but it is as you were as we head on to this final lap of the Brazilian Grand Prix. Once again, JT getting close here to Niklas. Mikras also getting very close to JT, but nobody's quite able to get the overtake done. It's very difficult there for Niklas to get a move done on JT without spearing into the back of Niklas. JT feels the need to go a little bit defensive into turn 6. That could compromise him now coming in towards turn 8, but no. IFR Mikras doesn't quite have the run. Fruitful here has got nothing in front of it and a clear run up towards the finish line. IFR took pole through Bolin. A disconnection early on saw him fall back down to P13, then contact as well halted his progress. He's now P11, but 10 positions in front. So maybe that says the fast lap of the Grand Prix. IFR Fruitful's going to cross the line to win the Brazilian Grand Prix for the IFR team. Stinson will finish second on track, but he'll lose second place to XL Neo, who takes that P2. Niklas in P4, but JT and Mikras both get in front of him, as does Askicum for the Vapor team, which just cost Niklas another position. Larkin in 8th place. Ackle will take P9. It's P10 for Ismail, and Bolin eventually for the IFR team. Such a shame for him to finish down in P11, but with that result for IFR, they claim the victory in the TRT Breakout League event. What a performance it's been over the course of the 5 races. 5 brilliant races of pure action and pure drama. 3 race wins for IFR. Another 2 podiums here this evening, taking them up to 5 podiums overall. And another 4 points finishes, which will take their overall tally to 14. XL with a horrible day for them this evening. IFR will not care about that. They've won the championship in the end comfortably after a phenomenal performance in Brazil. They are the champions. And 2 IFR drivers standing on the top step of the podium. Fruitful took the lead from Stinson late on. Stinson would have lost the lead due to his penalty anyway, but Fruitful on the top step. Winning it on track as well, which will just taste that little bit sweeter for him. But more importantly than that, for the IFR team, they won't necessarily care. They won't care at all who won the race. They won't care who finished where, as long as they've got the championship in the bag, and they do indeed with that performance. IFR Fruitful then takes P1. XL Neo in second place. Stinson in third for IFR. JT in P4 in the end for Vapor, with Miklas in P5. Askicum also getting ahead of Niklas, who had those penalties. So the VER car down to P7. Askicum takes P6. Larkin in P8. VER Aqua in 9th place. Ismail in P10. Bowden in the MP11 after what was a really cruel race for him. Vapor Canute in P12. Iwan in 13th place. Ralkio in 14th. XL Lando outside the points in 15th place. TRT James in P16. Tinkan 17. Vapor Mats down in P18. Got the fastest lap at the end though, with Bando Beers out of the Grand Prix for TRT. A horrible event for TRT. 3 points finishes throughout the course of the whole event here. Really not good for them. Vapor with 10 points finishes in the end to their name. But converse fortunes of those two, it is IFR take the victory in the TRT Breakout League event. Thank you so much for joining us over the course of the last 5 weeks. IFR are the champions. Good night.